Making the headlines tonight. The spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs tells reporters there is no human organ trafficking in Cambodia, following a recent claim made by a Thai woman that she was at risk of organ trafficking in the kingdom. 2 Japanese self-defense force ships will dock at the Sihanoukville Autonomous Port to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Japan's peacekeeping operations in Cambodia. NATO still helps Russia's neighbors send mercenaries into Ukraine despite violating the UN's international convention. Chelsea puts aside their off-field turmoil to keep a grip on 3rd place in the Premier League. And Cholita wrestlers perform on the streets as part of the electro-pressed carnival celebrations in La Paz. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Darshana Gauchan. The spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Chum Suntari, has told reporters that there is no human organ trafficking in Cambodia. This statement was made in response to a recent claim made by a Thai woman who said she was at risk of organ trafficking in Cambodia. The Cambodian Ministry of Foreign Affairs is currently in the process of contacting Thai authorities to investigate these allegations. EAC News reporter Dekanin has further details.
On Saturday, 12th of March, the Thai Examiner, a news website based in Thailand, published a story about a Thai woman who claimed she faced the risk of organ trafficking in Cambodia. Foreign Ministry spokesman Chum Suntari states the authorities in Sihanoukville have already denied this baseless claim. He further confirmed that the Cambodian embassy in Thailand has been in contact with Thai authorities to confirm more information and investigate this case. But as of Sunday, 13th of March, there has been no further details found about the case and this type of illegal activity in Cambodia. In February, a Chinese man similarly claimed to have been detained in Sihanoukville as a blood harvesting slave. But after local authorities conducted an investigation, it was found that this story was fabricated by the man and a group of others to avoid facing legal liability after illegally crossing the border into Cambodia. Dekanin, EAC News.
2 Japanese Indo-Pacific self-defense force ships are scheduled to dock at the Sihanoukville Autonomous Port for 3 days between 15th to 17th March 2022 to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Japan's peacekeeping operations in Cambodia. While the ships are docked in Sihanoukville, a delegation of the Japanese self-defense forces will also pay a courtesy visit to the head of the royal government of Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen. The 2 ships to dock are the Uraga 463 and the Hirado 305. The Uraga 463 is 141 meters long, 22 meters wide, with a depth of 5.4 meters, a payload of 5,650 tons, and a crew of 126 members. The Hirado 305 is 67 meters long, 11 meters wide, has a depth of 2.7 meters, a payload of 690 tons, and a crew of 54. The 2 ships are jointly commanded by Noguchi Yasushi, who is the commander of the 1st Indo-Pacific Mine Action Division. The Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, General Atsarat, has confirmed that the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces is ready to chair the 19th Asean Chiefs of Defenses Forces meeting under the theme Unity for Peaceful Harmony from 16th to 18th March. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
During the meeting to inspect the shortcomings of the Ministry of National Defense on Sunday afternoon, General Atsarat reaffirmed that the Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces will be responsible for 3 main ASEAN events this year: the ASEAN Chiefs of Defense Forces meeting, the ASEAN Military Intelligence meeting, and the ASEAN Military Operations meeting. He stated that the Ministry of National Defense has set up a subcommittee to chair the upcoming ASEAN Chiefs of Defense Forces meeting, led by himself, and members of other units under the Commander-in-Chief have been assigned responsibility for different tasks by the leadership. General Atsarat added that Cambodia hosting the 19th ASEAN Chiefs of Defense Forces meeting shows the national pride of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces and the history of the nation under the wise leadership of Prime Minister Hun Sen, especially during the time of COVID-19 pandemic, as it shows the international community that Cambodia has sufficient resources and capabilities to control the spread of COVID-19. He further stated that this historic event provides an opportunity for the Ministry of National and the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces as a whole to demonstrate their prestige and ability to pave the way for maintaining unity, solidarity, and resilience in ASEAN. Later this year, the 16th ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting has been tentatively planned to take place on the 21st of June 2022. Dekanin EAC News.
The Siem Reap Provincial Governor Thia Seha has said that 38 road infrastructure projects in Siem Reap Province, which were completed at the end of December 2021, are scheduled to be inaugurated on 4th April 2022 before the Khmer New Year celebrations begin. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the new Deputy Governor of Siem Reap on the morning of Friday the 11th of March, the Governor of Siem Reap, Thia Seha, said that the construction of 38 road projects in the province are now 100% complete and equipped with public street lighting and other features. These roads have been officially inaugurated on the 4th of April 2022 by Prime Minister Hun Sen and his wife First Lady Bundalani Hun Sen. The Governor said, despite facing the severe effects of COVID-19 pandemic, the provincial administration, with the support of the royal government, has paid attention to improving the beauty of Siem Reap. The 38 road infrastructure project in Siem Reap saw an improvement in the construction of roads at a total length of 106.42 kilometres, complete with a total national budget of more than $150 million, of which $9 million was spent on the construction of 248.72 kilometres of new rainwater and sewage systems between 30th November 2020 and the end of 2021. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
The Siem Reap Provincial Information Department has reported that nearly 40 foreign flights have landed at Siem Reap Airport per month since the end of 2021. According to the director of the Clean City Office of the Siem Reap Provincial Department of Tourism, Seung Sita, more than 6,000 foreign tourists have traveled to Siem Reap by air between 17th December 2021 until the end of February 2022. Currently, there are 3 airlines operating flights to Siem Reap: Singapore Airlines, Thai Smile, and China Southern Airlines. Last Thursday, 10th March, a large number of foreign visitors arrived at Siem Reap International Airport for the first time after Cambodia launched a vaccination tour of 80 students from INSEAD University in Singapore. It has been 2 years since Siem Reap was able to receive foreign tourists due to the spread of COVID-19. However, the national vaccination campaign and other health and safety measures implemented by the royal government allowed Cambodia to reopen the first foreign tourist flights to the province on 17th December 2021. By the end of 2021, a series of hotels and guest houses in Siem Reap were able to reopen, with nearly 30,000 rooms ready to receive national and international tourists. The Prime Minister of the Lao People's Democratic Republic has sent a message of thanks to Prime Minister Hun Sen, expressing his gratitude to Cambodia for always helping Laos in difficult times. The letter comes after Cambodia donated 10 vaccine trucks to Laos on Saturday. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
The Prime Minister of Laos, Pakham Vipavan, said that in his letter thanks addressed to the Prime Minister Hun Sen. Once again, I would like to sincerely thank Prime Minister Hun Sen for his warm welcome during my official visit in the Kingdom of Cambodia at the end of November 2021, and for providing assistance to the Lao People's Democratic Republic to prevent the spread of COVID-19, including $13 million, 500,000 doses of vaccines and 13 vaccine trucks. The Laotian Prime Minister further expressed his sincere gratitude and appreciations on behalf of the party, the government and the people of Laos to the Prime Minister Hun Sen, the Cambodian People Party, the Royal Government of Cambodia and the people of Cambodia for providing assistance during the time when we both Laos, Cambodia faced serious outbreaks of COVID-19 and particularly supporting Laos in achieving its national vaccine goals. The donations made by the Royal Government of Cambodia to the Government of People in Laos show the long-standing friendship, solidarity and cooperation that exists between the two countries, making them comprehensive and stable strategic partners to one another. In addition to Laos, Cambodia has so far provided financial assistance, face masks and medical equipment to many countries in the region, including Myanmar, Vietnam and Timor. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
The Working Group for the Management, Distribution, and Supply of Strategic Medicines for Combating COVID-19 of the Ministry of Health has decided to allow citizens to purchase up to 10 doses or boxes of the COVID-19 treatment medication MonoPirovir at $50 per dose. EAC News reporter Dekanin has further details.
In a statement issued by the National Commission for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday, 11th March, the working group decided that the new terms of sale for MonoPirovir will start on Monday, 14th of March, at the office of the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications and Cambodia Post Branch. In addition to allowing citizens to buy up to 10 doses, the team has also decided to allow private hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, and sub-pharmacies to purchase up to 100 doses. But these institutions must have a valid business license and are unable to resell the medicine for more than $60 per box. Additionally, the treatment drugs can be reordered at least once a week. The statement also warned that the working group will cooperate with the competent authorities to take strict actions against any private hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, sub-pharmacies, or resellers who exceed the stated maximum resale price of $60. MonoPirovir is a product of the pharmaceutical company Merck in the United States, developed as a treatment drug for adults with mild to moderate COVID-19. The drug has been certified by the Ministry of Health as a safe and highly effective for the treatment of COVID-19 and was first approved for use on November 3, 2021. Nekanin, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Cambodia has reported 145 new COVID-19 cases, including 30 which are imported. There have been 324 patient recoveries and no new deaths. This is the second consecutive day that Cambodia has recorded lower Omicron figures, though the number of Omicron cases still reached the triple digits. The kingdom recorded 115 new community and 30 new imported cases of the new variant, meaning that Cambodia has now recorded 13,772 cases of Omicron, 1,225 imported, and 12,547 community cases. Cambodia's COVID-19 case tally has now climbed to 134,213. The death toll stands at 3,047. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 129,292, and the tally for imported cases has climbed to 21,082. Healthcare workers are currently treating a total of 1,798 patients. And now for a look at news-making international headlines this Monday, 14th March.
A bus carrying around 50 Ukrainians went off the road in Italy and overturned, leaving one dead and several injured, firefighters said on Sunday, March 13. A woman fleeing Ukraine war dies in bus crash in Italy after being trapped under the bus, and her two children, aged 5 and 10, were among 22 refugees on bus that overturned on motorway. The accident has occurred on the A14 highway between Cesena and Rimini on the northeastern coast. According to firefighters, the bus ran off the road and overturned without involving other vehicles. As of Saturday, almost 35,000 Ukrainian refugees had arrived in Italy, most of them women and children.
Firefighters have rescued residents from a fire broke out in a building in Chernihiv, around 150 kilometres northwest of Kyiv, as heavy Russian shelling hits. A footage shows the crews battling the blaze, and residents were taken out of the building down an external emergency ladder, and one of them carried on a stretcher. In the eastern Ukraine, Russian troops are trying to surround Ukrainian forces as they advance from the port of Mariupol in the south of the second city, Kyiv, in the north, the UK Defence Ministry has said on Sunday. The British intelligence has also said Russian forces advancing from Crimea, which Russia annexed from Ukraine in 2014, were trying to circumvent Mykolaiv as they look to drive west towards Odessa. Air raid sirens again woke residents in Kyiv on Sunday morning, hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned Russian forces they face a fight to the death if they try to occupy the capital.
Italian finance police have seized a super yacht from Russian billionaire Andrei Igorovich Melnichenko. The Prime Minister office have confirmed on Saturday, March 12, a few days after the businessman was placed on a European Union sanctions list following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The 470-foot sailing yacht A, which has a price tag of 430 million euros, around $578 million US, has been sequestered at the northern port of Trieste, the government has said. Designed by Philipp Stark and built by Nobis Krug in Germany, the vessel is the world's biggest sailing yacht, the government has added. Melnichenko owns major fertilizer producer Eurochem Group and coal company SUEK. Last week, Italian police have seized villas and yachts worth 143 million euros from 5 high-profile Russians who have been placed on the sanctions list. The police operations were part of a coordinated drive by Western states to penalize wealthy Russians linked to the President Vladimir Putin.
NATO still helps Russia's neighbors to send mercenaries into Ukraine, regardless of the fact that this is an act of violation of United Nations International Convention, said former Director General of the United Nations Office at Geneva, Sergei Ordzhonikidze, on Friday.
Ordzhonikidze, who is also a former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, has said that despite NATO will not have a war with Russia, it still took hostile actions against Russia in other forms, which is violation of the United Nations International Convention. NATO knows very well that a war with Russia would herald World War III, in that if a thermonuclear war were to happen, NATO could disappear and Russia would also suffer huge losses. Therefore, NATO will not go to war with Russia. Unfortunately, the situation is worsening and NATO are sending mercenaries to Ukraine, which is in violation of the UN International Convention against the recruitment of mercenaries. The convention requires countries to commit not recruiting, financing, and using mercenaries and not sending mercenaries to war zones. But now, this is happening. With the help of NATO countries, Russia's neighbors, such as Poland, are sending mercenaries to Ukraine. In response, the Russian Defense Ministry has issued a statement saying that mercenaries do not meet the criteria for combatants under the Geneva Convention. I believe that NATO is acting as it pleases, supplying weapons and sending mercenaries to war zones without control, said Ordzhonikidze. On Russian Defense Ministry's accusation of U.S. biological labs in Ukraine, Ordzhonikidze has mentioned that establishing military biological laboratories is a practice of U.S. aggression in a plan to destroy its potential adversaries. Ordzhonikidze has also said there are 30 such laboratories in Ukraine, and similar laboratories also exist in Central Asia. The United States has used words top secret to disguise its practice, but it has violated relevant conventions on biological weapons, Ordzhonikidze has added.
Каждый раз, когда мы интересовались.
The Russia-Ukraine conflict continued on Sunday while a member of the Russian delegation said the negotiations with Ukraine have made considerable progress.
The two sides have held 3 rounds of talks so far and agreed on establishing humanitarian corridors. This is the latest developments of the situation. A Russian delegate to Ukraine has said there has been considerable progress since the Russian-Ukraine talks began. The report cited Russian negotiator Leonid Slutsky, who said talks with Ukraine may soon produce draft agreements. It may be possible to reach a joint position between the two delegations soon, said the official. Ukrainian negotiator and presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak on Sunday has also said he thought progress could be made at talks with Russia in the coming days, as the Russian side has become more constructive. Russian President Vladimir Putin had a telephone conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Saturday and have urged them to influence the Kyiv authorities to stop criminal acts of Ukrainian nationalist battalions, according to the Kremlin. Macron and Scholz have urged an immediate ceasefire and a diplomatic solution to the conflict in Ukraine, the German government said in a statement, noting the 75-minute talk as part of the ongoing international efforts to end the conflict. Zelensky has said on Saturday that NATO members are lacking courage and consensus on whether to accept Ukraine. The current conflict in Ukraine has not been easy for Russian financial institutions. Still, the country's capital reserves have made it possible for banks under severe restrictions to function. Russia has established an online trading platform, Import Substitution Exchange, to enable direct interactions between manufacturing companies in Russia and customers. There are enough component manufacturers in Russia who are willing to provide products to the domestic market to repair the supply chain that has been suspended by sanctions. The Russian central bank on Saturday said it will not resume trading on the Moscow exchanges from March 14 to the 18th, which will extend the market closures since February 28 to a third week. Nearly 125,000 people have been evacuated via humanitarian corridors from conflict zones in Ukraine, Zelensky has said in a video address on Sunday. The Russian military said Saturday that the humanitarian situation is deteriorating quickly in Ukraine and has become catastrophic in several cities. Mikhail Mizintsev, head of the Russian National Defense Control Center, accused Ukrainian nationalists of laying mines in residential areas and destroying key infrastructure.
What you see in the footage is not a zombie apocalypse, but Chinese people in panic. The 59th China International Beauty Expo, hosted at the Canton Fair Complex in Guangzhou, China, was shut down on March 11th, and a mass testing operation was implemented after an attendee tested positive for COVID-19.
Tens of thousands tested at Chinese Convention Center after an attendee was diagnosed with COVID-19. A large nucleic acid testing field was built in response to the infected attendee. The report has also said people were seen jumping over the complex walls to escape the line. People were in panic. In order to curb the risk of virus transmission in the shortest possible time, authorities have took decisive measures to control the Pachou Convention and Exhibition Center and have urgently dispatched a nucleic acid sampling team of more than 700 people, said Chen Bin, Deputy Director of the Guangzhou Municipal Health and Health Commission. Nucleic acid sampling was carried out on 40,000 people in the museum, Bin has added. The results were all negative.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Chelsea put aside their off-field turmoil to keep a grip on third place in the Premier League with a 1-0 win over Newcastle United, while Arsenal leapfrogged Manchester United into fourth with a 2-0 victory over Leicester City on Sunday.
Everton's plummet towards the region zone continued as they lost 1-0 at home, and Wolverhampton Wanderers by Leeds United gained some respite with the last gasp of 2-1 win over the bottom club Norwich City. Leeds Manchester City, who had 3 points ahead of Liverpool, are at Crystal Palace, and Monday Liverpool won 2-0 at Brighton's on Sunday. The 19-year gain of Chelsea's owner and backer Roman Abramovich effectively come an end this week after the UK government imposed sanctions on the Russian, with the club operating under a special licence. With the club up for sale and dealing with a series of restrictions on their current operations, it was perhaps not surprising that Chelsea was far from their best against Eddie Howe's improving Newcastle.
There are some circumstances we cannot influence, and that is at some point not so nice because you have no strings to pull and no actions to do to help. But on the other side, it gives you the freedom to focus on the stuff we can influence, and this is our performances and show the spirit. Chelsea is much more than only the first team in Premier League. It's a massive club with huge tradition, and there are so hundreds of people who maybe, I'm pretty sure, worry more than our players and the staff, me included, and for them it's important that we show the spirit and we give them a bit of distraction and kind of hope and show what we are about. We are about football because we love the game. No, my last information is that we have a plane, but and we can go by plane and can go back by plane. If not, we go by train. If not, we go by bus. If not, I drive a 7-seater, honestly. I will do. Yeah, you can mark my words. I will do. I will arrive there. I mean, if you ask me like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if I would join a Champions League match at the sideline and what I was willing to do, I would say, okay, when do I have to be where? And why should this change? I will be there and we will be there.
There were Saudi Arabia flags in the away end today.
Okay.
There were 81 executions in Saudi Arabia yesterday.
Yeah.
And they have a war in Yemen.
Yeah. Of course they have.
Your club is in your situation. Do you find it weird at all that one club is in one situation and one club isn't?
Wow. Yeah, it's a big one. And unfortunately, the situation is like this also for the owners of Newcastle, and that affects in the end. Yeah, it is. What can I say? But I don't want to point the finger because, comparing yourself or blaming the others does not make the situation for us a different situation. And I think the statement that we condemn war and the action from Russia towards Ukraine, there's no doubt, but we are facing the consequences actually at the moment, and this is where the focus is. I hope you can understand that.
But with the match seemingly heading for a draw, Jorginho launched a long pass over Newcastle's defence, Kai Havertz, and the Germans' brilliant control allowed him to fire past Martin de Bukova for his fourth goal in 3 league games. Chelsea's German manager Thomas Tuchel said that the team had a responsibility to those at the club facing a much more difficult situation than playing off and coaching staff.
The Beijing 2022 Winter Paralympics ended on Sunday, March 13th with a closing ceremony at the National Stadium in the Chinese capital that carried the message of love after a game that began with political chaos.
Russian and Belarusian athletes were barred from competing by the International Paralympic Committee on the eve of the Games, following threats of boycotts by other teams over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Once the Games started through, Ukraine shone, ending their campaign second on the medal tables with a total of 29, 11 of which were gold. Host China topped the medal standings with 18 golds in their overall tally of 61. with Canada 8 golds, seeing them finish third. Differences here did not divide us. They united us together for a shared future. Humankind hopes to live in a world where dialogue prevails. Our movement, the Paralympic movement, hopes world leaders be inspired by the actions of Paralympians. Finally, the time has come for all to declare the Beijing 2022 Paralympic Winter Games closed. I call upon Paralympic athletes all over the world to meet again in Milano and Cortina in Italy in 4 years' time, where once again you will inspire and excite the world with your sporting excellence.
And now for a look at how the weather will be playing out tomorrow. And finally, on Saturday, 12th March, Bolivians celebrated the Electro Prest in the city of La Paz. Cholita wrestlers performed in the ring on the streets as part of the celebrations of merging indigenous Aymara culture with modern Bolivia.
This year marks the return of the Electro Preste Carnival celebration since it was cancelled last year due to the pandemic. Although the people in Bolivia are still taking precautions, they are ecstatic to be able to come together and enjoy this carnival once again, to remember their values, cultures, and identities. Daniel Lobos, an Ecuadorian visitor, said that the vaccine had worked and that it's time to open up society again. It's time to feel alive and happy. Bolivians travel across the country to La Paz to celebrate the fusion of the indigenous and modern identities of Bolivia. Folklore bands and performers sing and dance on the streets and in the nightclubs during this time.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, you can check out our website, eacnews.asia, or search EAC News on Telegram or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see you then.